up, Chicago.
Tony the Tiger told me not to lie. I'm brain dead, I'm too high. I drifted to the other side of blue and white, of paradise. Of paradise. Of paradise.
This whole framework, though, that affects how youth and authority interact today and how public space is viewed today, it all dates to this war on graffiti. So I wanted to write about that. So this book takes place long after that war ends. It takes place in 2005. And it deals with a kind of epic return of those writers from the train era, the New York City train era, who watched graffiti die on the trains, who outlived the thing they invented, watched it go worldwide, became famous, watched scenes pop off in cities around the globe, but on some basic level had outlived the thing that they had created.
Actually, this is my first Louder Than a Bomb event. I've heard of them, of course, but this is the first place I've been to, the first event that I've been to where I feel like I learned something about the history of graffiti.
Excellent, really interesting. It's something I've not really experienced before or considered really, I suppose, graffiti writing. It's interesting how it's referred to as graffiti writing as well, because I would have said exactly what was sort of contradicted tonight with graffiti art. No, it's writing. But no, really enjoyed it, it was great.
And there's no faking it, because your audience or your judges are out in the real world, and there's no censoring, there's no going to commercial break, there's nothing like that. And so I guess the street credibility is the measurement of success. We have sustainable programming with graffiti in it at Yellow Valley Arts Reach, where I work right now. And so we're just trying to build that out and expand throughout the city. And
part of my interest in graffiti, even as a young kid, stemmed from that terminology. It was always notable to me that graffiti writers called themselves writers, not painters, not artists. Those might be secondary terms, but it was always writer. And to me that meant something because the medium was and is primarily words. So to me it was a form of literature. And as a young kid coming up as an MC and as a writer, like a writer on the page, I accepted that term and started looking at it in that way.
What has always been trying to be described to me about it, but hearing the realness of it from other perspectives was really interesting.
I thought it was really dope. I'm from New York City and born and raised, and to hear the story of graph told in that kind of really creative and like inventive way through like the lens of a biracial kid from the city is like really it's different, and it's like it needs to be in the sphere of literature, I think.
I found really interesting was the resistance of sort of Chicago authorities to graffiti writing and criminalising it as they did.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I especially liked the history of the graffiti that they were talking about at the end, the conversation that they got in at the end. That was super interesting.
Right, and people right now are serving 8-year jail sentences in some states for graffiti. Like there's a 19-year-old kid who was convicted in Texas a year ago, 8 years. But absent from this conversation over public space is any discussion or any critique of the enormous visual pollution foisted upon all of us every day by corporate billboards and advertising, right? I mean, that's dwarfs graffiti on any scale.
I just like hearing those stories because especially within hip-hop, they don't get told often, so it's cool to like get to hear two people sort of telling those stories.
It was the first thing I tried. I'm gonna say this once and then I promise I won't come back to it. Or even address the reader in second person anymore, which I can see getting annoying very quickly, seeing as people want to lose themselves in stories, not open a book and have a finger pointing at them all the time. Unless it's a pop-up book.